The movies sold us a lie about the Wild West. On screen, cowboys looked rugged but strangely clean, with bright smiles, neat hair, and clothes that somehow stayed wearable through weeks of dust and blood. The real truth was far darker, grittier, and far more shocking. Hygiene in the Wild West wasn't just poor, it was often non-existent, misunderstood, and deadly. For many people living on the frontier, being dirty wasn't a choice, it was survival. Cleanliness was a luxury most settlers, miners, cowboys, and outlaws simply couldn't afford, and the consequences followed them every day of their short, brutal lives. Bathing, for example, was rare enough to be considered an event. Many frontier families bathed only a few times a year, often in spring or before winter set in. Water was precious, especially in dry regions, and hauling it by hand made frequent bathing impractical. When people did bathe, they often used the same tub of water, starting with the youngest child and ending with the adults. By the time the last person stepped in, the water was cloudy, greasy, and crawling with dirt. Cowboys sometimes joked that their clothes could stand up on their own, stiff with dried sweat and grime. Some people chewed on sticks or used baking soda or salt when available, but many did nothing at all. Cavities, abscesses, and rotting teeth were widespread. A simple toothache could turn fatal if infections spread to the brain or bloodstream. Frontier dentistry often involved pliers, whiskey, and prayer. Teeth were yanked out without anesthesia, and many people lost most of their teeth by middle age. That iconic Wild West grin with perfect teeth. Pure Hollywood fantasy. Towns had no sewage systems. Outhouses overflowed, and waste was often dumped into streets or nearby rivers, the same rivers people drank from. Surgical instruments were reused without cleaning, sometimes still crusted with blood from previous patients. Amputations were common and deadly, not just because of the injury, but because infection almost always followed. A minor cut could turn into gangrene. People rubbed dirt, animal grease or alcohol on wounds, believing it would help. Women faced unique hygiene challenges that history often ignores. Menstruation was poorly understood and surrounded by shame. There were no disposable products. Even food hygiene was terrifying. Meat was preserved with salt or smoked, but spoilage was common. Milk was rarely pasteurized, leading to deadly illnesses. Many deaths recorded as fever or weakness were actually caused by contaminated food or water. Cleanliness, when possible, became a sign of status. The Wild West wasn't just dangerous because of guns and outlaws, it was dangerous because of invisible threats. The real West was itchy, smelly, painful, and often deadly. Survival meant living with dirt, not conquering.
The Wild West presented in movies looks dusty but manageable. Rugged men with clean faces, women in tidy dresses, and towns that seem rough but functional. The real Wild West, however, was a hygiene nightmare so extreme that modern audiences would find it almost unbelievable. Cleanliness was not a priority because survival barely left room for it. Water was scarce, soap was expensive, and medical knowledge was dangerously limited. Dirt, disease, parasites, and decay were part of daily life. And most people lived in conditions that would now be considered uninhabitable.